And so it has come to this, leading the charge to destroy the greatest find of our time. What a waste. I had hoped to at least salvage something from all this by meeting these iguanoids, but that too was a waste. They have nothing to offer our world other than weapons and a desire for bloodshed. The worst part, of course, is that all of this is my scheme. We could have just run away and left things be. Why did I decide on this course of action? It's almost as if something was guiding me to this point, but to what end? I can't see how this will end in a positive manner. I may very well die in these tunnels. Will that be all my legacy amounted to? If only this world hadn't taken so much from me. My darling wife, my child, lost to the flames. I vowed since that day that I would do something to change this world for the better. I vowed to get revenge on those who made the world the way it is. Has any of it really mattered in the end? There is no time to dwell on the past. Come, let us see where this path leads us. I'm afraid there is no turning back now. This is Red Moon Roleplaying.
As Faulkner makes his way down the manhole, light diminishing, and he can no longer see the feet of BC or Dr. White as they make their own ways, their own egresses. The drip of the drain is the only sound to be heard. Occasionally in the distance there's a roar of water. You know you wouldn't want to be caught in that. Your flashlight doesn't cast a broad beam or illuminate much beyond the ground immediately in front of you when everything is dark. Torch isn't all that it needs to be. But down you go, heading into the drain, hoping, despite the reality of the situation, to bump into an alien mass. Hoping to be the one to deliver the killing blow so that no one else has to. As you descend further into tunnels that you're no expert, but appear to have been carved a long time ago, longer than you'd imagine people lived in Denton. Your mind is cast to an ancient time. You don't know how much of it you're daydreaming. Of people living under the ground, with scales on their backs, worshipping great entities, most of whom were nameless, making foul sacrifices just for a good harvest or a good catch of fish. There's something about being down here, this far down, that makes you feel strangely at home. And that's probably the most disturbing thing of all. You realize you haven't been making sounds with your footfall for some time. And looking down, I suppose the ground down here is spongy, not stone. It's soft, almost organic. BC, you make your way down, making your way further, away from where Faulkner entered the drains. Your descent takes you down a ladder. The staff from the iguanoids around your back. You're determined, no doubt, that you've got to save your town. You are going to save your town. You're going to save your family. It's the constant buzz in your head, the mantra I have to save my town. I have to save my family. I have to save my town. I have to save my family. Just keep telling yourself that as you go down, down into the drains, and around you and under the arched ceiling, the dripping of water. You don't want to think about what it is that's running alongside you as you walk along the precarious walkway. There's obviously a great deal of fear in you. You want to face this thing so that nobody else has to, but you don't know that you can manage it. And what happens if you let them down? What happens if you make a mistake and that results in everyone else losing? That amount of pressure has never existed on your shoulders before, not really.
I kinda always wanted to have that pressure. For a time when I was working on the skyscrapers, I kinda wished I was the one with the big responsibility. The one whom everyone would cherish when I made the right choice. Now I have it. But in a far different situation than I ever imagined.
As you descend deeper, you start seeing shadows moving in your flashlight's beam. At first you just think it's your own shadow, but then you realize they're scampering past. It could be running people. Could it be some of your companions, maybe the lizards, or maybe your human compatriots down here? Maybe it's something far worse than that. Then we have Dr. White, whose entry into the underground is slower, more methodical, more laboured. And it has to be. His age, his injury, does not allow for a quick entry. But down he goes, resolute, perhaps more convinced of dealing with this thing than anyone else, and that comes as a surprise to Dr. White. The preservation of samples, the need to experiment is ever present in his mind, but there's a point at which it goes too far, and maybe this thing is just fit only for destruction. All this talk of fire brings out the beast in you. This destruction by fire. How many times have you seen it now? Not just in recent days, but in your past. Every time something gets built up, every time hope is within reach, it just burns right down. And as Dr. White makes his way down the sewer, ignominiously crawling on his elbows and knees, having picked an entryway that truly isn't large enough to walk down, he hears a voice up ahead. "Charlie? Charlie!" And it echoes down the sewer.
I pause for a moment. I'm confused. Yes, I'm struggling a lot down here. Part of me is thinking if maybe I can just get one little sample away from all this. This won't be a complete waste, but I've been agreeing. I have come to the conclusion that after all this was my idea. Why? Because if we just run away and left this thing uncontained, government would have had no idea what to do with it. If only they'd bloody listened to the man who knew what was going on. But no, there's always they had to lock away the only person, the only voice of reason, and resort to whatever they're planning. But now I'm just confused. I keep moving forward, trying to see if I can see the source of this voice.
"Charlie, help me, I'm burning. I'm burning, Charlie. I'm burning down here."
I start to sweat profusely. I'm covered in muck and grime. I clutch my cane and I close my eyes, 'cause no, it's not her. Not down here, no, that's not possible.
You feel something stroking your cheek, gently, lovingly. Feels like your wife's hand. It's been a very long time since you felt that. Comforting. And you can hear her voice. coming from right in front of you. You can feel her breath almost on your face. And she whispers, "You burnt me, Charlie. You burnt me so badly."
I can feel one of my eyes tearing up. And I open my eyes.
In front of you, mere inches from you, is a gelatinous approximation of your wife. A pseudopod caressing your cheek, reaching out in a rough simulacrum of an arm. The face is constantly shifting between happiness, anger, sadness, joy, mirth, occasionally love. But this is a mockery of your wife. It's a mockery of you. "You burnt me, Charlie. And now I'm going to eat you." And the creature doesn't so much shuffle forward or crawl forward as lurch forward in this constrained pipe, with you on one side and it on the other, in an effort to smother you. What are you going to do, Dr. White?
I let out a startled cry of fear, followed much more quickly by anger. I am terrified of this thing in front of me, but then a second passes and I'm full of rage. How dare this thing reach into my mind? Take her from me? Take her from me like she was taken from me before. You bastard! And in panic, I try and scramble back and reach for the vial. I'm going to try and just fling it into this thing. As I back out of the tunnel, I have no idea if I will succeed in any of these things, of course.
Dr. White, I'm going to make you make a roll that you're probably not terribly equipped to achieve. I would like you to use close combat and dexterity. You're going to need 2 successes to ignite the oblique. 1 success to just ignite your pocket, which might be enough. But its strands of goo are covering you. You are, for the time being, the spotlight, so you do gain an additional die for that.
As I go to reach for the vial, I just scream out, "Just do what you want with all the others, just leave me alone!" I activate Equip.
Very good use of Equip. You can have an additional die. That of course means that if you do succeed, you get a free cinematic.
Unfortunately, I only got 1 success.
Dr. White, your dramatic sacrifice is not in vain. This thing is indeed intensely flammable. At least this spawn of it is. As it wreathes around you and chokes you and fills your mouth and nostrils, and your hand scrabbles back towards your pocket to reach your potassium, your little compound that you could use to ignite it. Your frantic rubbing with your fingers, your contact with moisture in the sewer, you pop the end off of your vial. It spills free. It does ignite and sends you up into a glorious flame along with the creature. You might want to scream out, but this thing melts onto your face. What are your passing thoughts?
And my final thought is that how could it have ended like this? What a waste. What a waste. And I use a 1 rewrite on cheap set.
How would you like that cheap set to be implemented, Dr. White?
As fire, confusion, and madness overtake me, suddenly, somehow, the pipe just drops me into water. It doesn't make any sense. It's like one moment I am engulfed in flame, and then it's almost as if I just ooze through the pipe into liquid. It doesn't make any sense. No sense at all. All I can hear is buzzing. Constant buzzing.
We will move on to Agent Faulkner. Dr. White isn't the only person to start hearing voices or seeing people. As you trudge down this rather cavernous sewer, again, far too expansive to just be a simple drainage pipe, you can see pseudopods, tendrils, gelatinous masses clinging to the walls. They don't appear to be connected to any other by thin tendrils. These just appear to be offal, offset, leakage, discharge, just left in its wake, like a trail left by a slug. Judging by how wet this material appears, it hasn't been long since it was last here. And you hear a voice, a human voice. Agent, please help me.
And knowing that this creature has had the ability to mimic some form of speech before, how they all seem to be able to communicate with us, I am immediately suspicious. Who could this be? Sheriff? I say nothing, and I try to move up slowly with my weapon drawn.
Clumped into one of the corners, like a vast deposit of goo has been just dumped there, and protruding from this lump of gelatinous liquid is a hand. You identify it quickly as a left hand, just flailing aimlessly, and part of a face. You can just about make out the face of Special Agent Morell. His right eye is covered, along with the back of his head. His left eye, his nose, and part of his mouth is free. It looks like this gelatinous mass is consuming him. Agent, please, you've got to get this. You've got to get this stuff to Washington.
Special Agent Morell, the most important thing to do now is not to bring this back, not to study it, not to find some way of unleashing it upon our fellow humans, not even on the Soviets. I wouldn't even wish this upon them.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. They have... You've got to understand, Agent, before it's too late. My life here means nothing. The life of these people of Denton, it means nothing. Your life means nothing. The commies, they've got their own alien weapons. Joseph Stalin is possessed by an eel. I know, it probably sounds ludicrous. But look at what's happening to me. We have to beat them at their own game. We have to have a weapon to fight back. Please you can leave me, but you need to take a sample of this back to Washington. You have to. I only pulled over briefly to catch my breath after what happened. And I was just grabbed. I was taken by surprise. This is why I'm down here. It's not going to be more than a few minutes before my entire face is covered up, so please do what I'm asking you, ordering you to do. Do what I'm ordering you to do.
You're right, Special Agent Morell. Your life means nothing. And I raise my gun and I I fire one of those special bullets at this goo that's around him, intent on destroying it and destroying him. He's a threat to all of us.
The bullet cleaves into the pillar of Gunge and into Morale. He dies swift enough to not let out a scream. The mass explodes, ignites into fire, burning hot and quickly, and then down into cinders. You have no idea how Morel was able to speak with you, because when you see the remains that are left in this quickly burning pyre, he had no spine remaining. Perhaps that says something about the man. All there was the front half of a skull and the intact human hand. Maybe he wasn't even human when he was asking you to deliver him to DC.
No, it must have been that thing. The oblique, that's what it wants. It wants to control our government, it wants to control everything. It wants to take us over and make us be its slaves. I will not allow that to happen, even if I have to give my own life to stop it. I will continue trying to hunt and find this creature. I will continue following its trail.
The trail thickens. You think you are very close indeed, Agent Faulkner, as you round the corner and start noticing on the walls and in the ceiling carvings, intricate and ancient, depicting beings that don't quite look human, heads slightly too large, features slightly too lizard or fish-like, eyes far too big, in worship to a creature best described as resembling a gargantuan squid. You hear a scream off to your right, and from its nasal tone, you think that may be the voice of Dr. White out there. Now we go to BC. BC does not have the easiest of routes. As he goes, he takes his journey through the man-made sewer maintenance tunnels and shadows, figures moving around. Occasionally the sound of footsteps scampering by serve to distract and alarm.
I look around warily. I sort of try to straighten up and try to feel like that big iguanoid, the thing that claimed to be my better. If he can do this, I can. And I clutch the staff next to me and I try to feel imposing and strong. I can do this. Come on, BC, come on. Try to stabilize my mind and focus.
As you attempt to stealthily make your way down these tunnels, you see two figures up ahead, bare silhouettes. They appear to be doing something to a figure up against a wall. They might be chaining them or fastening them, and as you approach, they run away, leaving the figure up against the wall. You can't see any residue from this oblique where you are.
Well, was it humans, those that ran off?
Yeah, they certainly looked it.
I look after them as I approach this thing, and I look up on the wall to get closer to this, whatever it was they were chaining. What is it?
Do you remember the young woman who had just arrived in town, who you met at the diner, Joni Fisher?
Yeah, the one that was looking for her pants.
She's tied up, a gag preventing her from screaming, but judging from the wound to her head, she's unconscious.
Damn.
Looks like she's been laid in sacrifice.
Yeah, that's where my thoughts go as well. It's what they wanted to do to Susie. They wanted to sacrifice her to this thing. maybe then it's not too late. I look around. Do I hear something nearby, or do I see something nearby? Is it?
You can hear the gurgling of what you think are drains.
I lean the staff against the wall and I try to get her down from there.
It's going to require a bit of craftsmanship, I suppose, a bit of crafts to get through the chains. She appears to have been fastened there pretty securely. So if you want to make a roll for it, you could probably do it without making a roll, but you'd make a lot of noise. So if you want to do it without making noise, I'm going to ask you to use technology and resolve.
Well, I do have the tools of the trade trope. One of the reasons I decided to bring a big bag, so I seem to have quite the right tools with me in order to undo these chains. But, just like you said, I don't want to make noise down here. So I carefully whip out tongs, and I'm going to try and make it through this chain, biting my lip as I do. Let's see, technology and
resolve.
Now, technology is one of my archetype skills, so I get a +1 because of my mental flesh wound.
Yep.
And I roll 2 10s.
Very good. You can choose to assign 2 of those points to a stunt if you like. Otherwise, you can take the 4 flat successes. What would you prefer?
I'd be happy to take a stunt. And my tools, my little pliers that I had with me, it seems to just sink through the metal as if something external is squeezing my hand. And I feel a tinge of fear for a second, as if I'm not doing this myself. But my hand doesn't stop even though I'm trying to, and click, very silently, it's clicking through. And my hand is guided to the next chain. And I feel like I'm paralyzed with fear, as this is not my own body moving, and click, the next chain goes. And so does the next one. And as she falls down from her place there on the wall, I catch her. And it feels like something surrounding me, like some external force is grabbing a hold of my body, ready to take it over at the given moment, like I just given into something that I don't know what it is. But I can somehow feel control coming back again as I suddenly jolt, and I feel her weight on me, and I lay her down on the ground. There's something here making me stronger than I usually am, but at the same time also guiding me, and I'm not too sure what I think about that. I'm using the trope old school carnage here to increase my melee damage by 2 for the remainder of this scene.
Well, as this scene will take us through to the end of the game, this is what happens. Something about this ungodly power that's currently coursing through you, allowing you to just speak with the locks and melt your tools through metal, is going to make those flames you produce with your staff even more deadly. They are now extensions of your godly ancestor, the great old one that works through you. And even you, even BC, is aware now, without shadow of a doubt, there is something watching over him.
It's a terrifying thought, and comforting at once.
A sound of screams and a whoosh of flame goes up in the tunnel nearby. You're not sure what's happened, but it sounds like humans screaming in pain, and then a sudden high-pitched gurgling.
I whip up the cloth from the bag that I was carrying along, and I lay it over the unconscious Joni. I don't have time to sit around here with her. I gotta move on. And I whisper, "I'll be back for you, Joni." And I stand up and I take my staff and I start hurrying along towards the sound of the screams and further into these tunnels.
It appears that the iguanoids found some of the cultists, as you are seeing people you recognize from the diner, some of those who try to feed you into the drain, running towards you and past you, billowing with flame. Iguanoids clearly enjoying a little too much the ability to put torch to some of these possessed humans. Going back to the water channel and Dr. White now, pulling yourself up from being face down in a sewer.
I have no idea now where I even am. I'm in pain. I was burnt, and at the same time soaking wet and cold, and I just sort of collapsed wherever I am, reaching for my cane.
Your cane fell through with you. What a stroke of luck. Looking up at the tunnel that you fell through, there doesn't appear to be anything else coming down, not even the drip of ooze. But it's at that point that there's a part of you that realizes it was in physical contact with you for an arguably extended time. There was no film, no layer between you and it as it was on your face, and it was only the sudden burst of flame that allowed you to escape. But did it remove all of it from your skin? Did it remove all of it from within your mouth and nose? You're suddenly overtaken by a panic.
Yes, damn it, if I can't become this thing now, or if we kill the main body, will I be cured? I don't know. God damn it all! And I just sort of start panicking as I look at my own skin in horror and expectation.
Your skin is behaving very strangely, and you don't know how much of this is the panic attack and how much of it is reality. It's as if it's contorting, and expanding and contracting. The skin on your hands and your arms, where you've been burned as well by your potassium compound, seems to be shifting and rippling. You have no idea what's happening to your face, but you can feel it. It's as if your skin hangs loose and then is suddenly tight around your bones. You may not have much time left. You can hear a gurgle you haven't heard since that time you entered the cave those nights before. You're in the main body of the sewer now, and you can hear it not that far away.
I see. Then there is no time. No time for me, perhaps, although maybe there's a sliver. If I stay here in panic, I will be doomed for sure. Maybe if I can keep going on. Maybe if we can complete the mission. I don't even know. But I will, as I move forward, start calling out. Anyone? Maybe I found it. Maybe it's here, if you can hear me. BC! Faulkner!
As you round the bend, your expectation has proved correct. You don't know whether this is the heart of the creature. It's impossible to say, quite frankly, when a creature is made up of so many rope-like tendrils, some as thin as hair, some as thick as cables, and eyeballs, and bubbles, and mouths as this thing. What is a heart? Where is a heart? Where is a mind? But one thing's for sure, you are looking at a large bulk of alien matter clogging up this sewer. And you look very small in comparison. Agent Faulkner, having put an end to the potential life of Special Agent Morel, and hearing the scream not that far away of Dr. White. Do you follow it, or do you follow the trail?
The trail. If he was screaming, then he must surely be dead already. He would want me to finish the mission. Yes, I move to follow the trail, to find this heart.
You find yourself not looping back on yourself, but looping back on the passages perhaps taken by some of your companions. You don't even know how long you've been in the sewers now, any of you, but the passage you take, you find a body of one of your iguanoid companions, and then another. Looks like they've been engaged in some kind of battle with the cult that worships this creature. You're sad for their deaths, as clearly they've died to protect their own, but you're glad that you deployed them and eliminated some of the human opposition you might have faced down here. As you follow the trail, getting thicker, getting stickier, it becomes increasingly hard to evade. It's stuck on the walls, the ceiling, the floor, and that's when you see it, shifting ever so slightly, lurching, gulping forward, filling up this passage that must be at least 20 feet across by every dimension. You can see this great sluggish blockage just shifting forward, like it's trying to squeeze its way through, and it's grown much bigger than you think it ever was before. The town must have been upping its sacrifices. It must be growing in worship. If this thing has a direction, you are looking at its rear as it moves away from you, but it has enough eyes all over its body to spy you. Mouths open, they burble, they laugh, and you think they're laughing right at you, Agent Faulkner.
And I hear that laughter, and I smile back and I lift up my gun. I'm going to destroy this thing, piece by piece, until I run out of bullets. And I fire upon it.
I'm not going to make you roll to fire, because it's all but a point-blank target. It is taking up one entire direction. And so you unload your weapon. Fire, fire, fire. Your bullets laced with the special compound crafted by Dr. White. They do burn gaping great holes through this thing's body. Cavernous. Seared at the edges. The eyeballs expand, the mouths scream and trill horribly, and they communicate with something in your mind. Something that screams in return, but your scream is one of anger, one of indignation. You're going to lose 2 injuries, as it were. You're going to take 2 injuries to your next level of health. You haven't lost that level yet, but you have taken 2 injuries to it. You only have 1 left. As your mind is bombarded by the mind of this creature, you can feel it's trying to get into your head. But there's something inside you, perhaps from the very point that you started discussing with the iguanoids in their language, that is now there and it's present and it's not going away.
You will not defeat us. And I say that, if I can, in the language of the lizard men. And I reach for... If I have any bullets left, I would have fired them now. So I reach for one of the vials of the compound, and I just try to throw it, or do whatever I can to get this compound into the holes that I've opened up in this creature, to damage it further.
In that case, I am going to ask you to make, I think, athletics and dexterity. As simultaneously, as thick as a human body, tentacles burst out of this thing's hull and wreathe around you. They just belch out and attempt grab at you.
Would it be possible to use aim, or is that only with weapons? Because that is...
We can use aim instead.
That will then give me 9 dice.
As these things are lashing out at you, I am going to require that you get at least 3 successes to get this one vial into one of these holes you have shot through.
And I get only 2 successes.
That means you gain a rewrite, but you can't use it on this roll, I'm afraid. The vial falls short. It bounces off the thing's rubbery mass, and while it does ignite because of all the moisture in this place, it is superficial damage. You think you've hurt the creature just by shooting it with this explosive rounds, but it's not enough to prevent you from being looped and grappled. As you spend your action throwing, resistance is going to be at a difficulty again of 3, and I'm going to ask you to do close combat and might to resist the grapple of these 2 thick tendrils that are trying to drag you towards it.
And I see it reaching out for me, trying to subdue me, to destroy me. And I think back to Korea, to the onslaught of the Chinese, and feeling like we're all going to die. And I fight back as hard as I can.
Okay, you get your additional die. You're going to be rolling close combat and might.
And I get 4 successes.
Well done, Agent Faulkner. Powered by your memories and perhaps more, you are able to loose yourself from the grappling tentacles. Maybe its grip isn't as firm as it would have been had it not been injured. Maybe it's your sheer human strength. Or maybe there's something else behind you, giving you that might. But you break free. Congratulations, you have not been dragged into the maw of the oblique. Not yet.
And seeing that it is useless to fight here directly against it, I try to move away, and I try to perhaps move towards where I heard Dr. White's voice. I must regroup. I must find someone else to fight with.
Then that takes us to BC. As you stride over the burning bodies of cultists and you see others engaging the iguanoids, when you realize you should come to another sump pipe, looking down it, and you're just drawn to look down it. It's quite an irrational human thing to do in a dark and dangerous place like this, to just stop and look down a thin, only the size of your head, pipe. You just feel yourself drawn.
I just stop and I see everyone going one way, but what is there? Is there something there? And I move over and I have to stand on my toes to look in, and I peek into this pipe.
The noise of feet and boots scampering away, running, people screaming, quickly fades as the darkness inside the pipe seems to swaddle your head, fill your ears, fill your senses. It's just you and the darkness in this narrow pipe, quite insignificant, quite out of the way of all of this. But you look inside. Your eyes are tuned to the darkness as best as they're able. And you see something gently glowing, something yellow, like bile, throbbing inside there, irregularly, almost like a heartbeat.
What is that? And I bring up my flashlight to shine in. Do I need that to shine in, or can I make it out without it?
You're a bit afraid of shining your light on it in case it notices you, but I'm going to let you have that choice. Would you like to study it? And would you like to study it just with your vision? Or would you like to shine a light on it as well?
I sort of reach down impulsively towards my bag to get it, but something stops me. Something stops me. I don't know if it's the force from before, but my hand moves back to my side. And no, I'm looking just with my eyes trying to make out what that is.
As best as you can see, illuminated only by the light of this thing, it's a tight cluster of eyeballs, but more like frog spawn. That would be a fairer description. Throbbing, pulsating, and they aren't there independently. Stretching from them thin, like pasta, and linking in to the brickwork around it, and you think looping through into other small holes, drainage holes that probably lead throughout this entire sewer. These tendrils, as this thing pulsates and writhes gently.
I sort of think back on the moment in the pickup truck when the rain was falling outside. I was sitting there with little Charlie Björklund. He was so proud to show me his photos. I think of that fun photo, that one photo. I think of that one photo, and was that what I saw? Is this similar to that?
You think, as close as you can guess, it's identical to that.
I wonder if it's sort of part of this big if this is somehow part of that big entity. And I wonder if that sort of stretches through some kind of nerve center of this whole being. Maybe this is where we need to attack. It for sure isn't something to do with the lizard men, right? I'm trying to think, because it could be like maybe they laid eggs or something like that. But they wouldn't do that in this part. They were talking about the shallow ends of the swamps. Instead, I reach inside my pocket for the little vial that the doctor gave me as well. What if I mix it in here?
You hold it right there, BC Rossberg.
And I get sort of snapped out of my focus, and I whip around.
Mavis from the diner stood on the other side of the sewer to you, pointing a gun right at you. You step away from that hole. You step away right now.
Mavis, come on. And I hold up my hands like, yeah, no need to be like that now.
You put that stick right down on the floor. I know what it can do.
This stick right here? What do you think I'm gonna do with it?
I know you ain't one of us. I know you ain't been one of us since you left Denton. You and your family was always resistant. Well, you ain't gonna have to worry about that much longer. You put that stick down, I'll make this quick.
And I think to myself, she's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me right here.
I tell you what, I'll let your friends live. I give you my word.
How far away is she?
Oh, she's probably about 15 feet.
I try to look as if I'm about to comply, to kneel down, but I'm instead thinking that it's now or never, BC. It's now or never. And instead, I push my feet against the floor, and I lunge out toward her as I twist the mechanism in the staff to try and produce that long, bright flame that I saw it can make before. Right toward her.
Aim and dexterity, please. You only need a single success, but if you fail, she will get a shot off.
And at this time, I would love to use one of my fine-tuning uses from my experimentation with the staff.
Go for it.
And I lunge out, sweeping the staff in front of me. I get an 8.
A single success.
A single one.
You do your additional damage too, from your earlier use of a stunt. The flame takes her quite by surprise. Clearly she thought she had you beat, and thought you were going to drop the staff, instead sweeping it around and firing a plume into her face. She was unprepared for your shot, and her hands go up instinctively to defend herself, dropping the gun, leaving her only to curl into a ball in flames and roll into the sewer. You're not sure what's in this stuff, but it's potent, as she seems to keep burning under the water.
As she is screaming, I notice I'm screaming too. God damn it, Mavis, why do you have to do this? Damn it! And I feel as if something that was grasping me is letting go for a second. Again. As if it wasn't me doing that just now. And I feel my knuckles whitening as they grasp the staff. And I quickly move back to the place where I saw the thing in the hole, and I start to fumble with the vial from inside my pocket. And I look in. Is it still there? Do I still see the eyes?
It's still there. It's throbbing with increasing rhythm now. All the eyes seem fixed on you, angrily.
I feel, again, something is taking over me now, and it's almost like my hand is moving faster than I would have intended myself. And I reach down, I take the vial, I screw the top off, and I shove my hand in as it's emptying the vial straight ahead into the pipe, as a cascade of it flows out of the vial.
As the powder connects with the moisture, there isn't time to watch the flames spread. It's an immediate ignition, an explosion. Clearly Dr. White gave you a particularly potent dose. As a whoom fills the pipe and blasts out on either side. BC, I'm going to ask you to do an athletics and dexterity roll, please, to avoid getting your head blown off by the explosion of putting what is effectively a grenade in a very enclosed space.
I say, as the little first click of the substance first drips make contact, as if everything slows down, and I mouth the words again. Please help me, Daddy.
You gain your additional die. I will grant that to you.
I get an 8 and a 10.
In the split second available to you, you rock to the right. It's like a flamethrower firing out of the hole, but it avoids you, just singeing the side of your face and your hair. But you avoid it. Now, before we cut to Dr. White, BC, you successfully create an award-winning scene there with the use of your quip. After that, you get to decide. Do you keep that quip for later use, or would you like to purchase any cinematic in the game and use it instantly for free?
Well, I've been using a lot of quips. I think it's time that we let this one go. And let's use a cinematic here. The deleted scene. As that quip that I used. Please help me, Daddy. Brings me back somehow, as if everything's contorting and distorting around me, and I find myself standing... We're standing outside my house, and there's a bus waiting for me to take me away to New York and my new job and my new future. I stand there with my mom and dad, and I have a little packed lunch from Mom, and my dad has just given me a brand new set of wrenches that I'm standing holding them in my hand. Thought it was a bit of a funny gift, but he knew I'd put them to good use. I stand there and I try to fight back a feeling of being emotional. I mean, I'm just leaving for a while, trying to find some good work, but something now echoes, an echo perhaps from the future. I don't know. I get a feeling that I might not be seeing them for quite some time, and when I do, somehow things will be different. I look at my dad as if I haven't seen him for years and months. It's like the last time I saw him, he was in bed for something, but I don't remember that. I run up to him and I give him a hug.
I love you, son. I'm proud of you.
Dad, I'm not... Should I really be doing this, Dad? Should I really be going away?
You've got to get away from here, son. You got to make a life for yourself away from these people in this place. You know we'll always have you in our hearts. But you gotta go. Gotta go make a man out of yourself. It ain't gonna happen here.
I bite back. I hold back tears. I'll see you soon, Dad. I'll write to you. And I'll come back again. You know, I'm gonna make you proud.
You already did, son. You just be safe.
And I look at Mom and nod to her. I'll write, yeah. I'll write to you. You be safe too, you know, both of you. Just stay away from the weird ones.
Oh, BC. You don't need to worry about us none. We'll catch a flight up to see you sometime, I'm sure. Hell, heck, we could catch the train nowadays. It'll be fine, don't you worry. You just take care and have fun up there. But don't you forget us. Keep us in your hearts.
You better believe it, Mom. You know, I'm gonna teach me. I'm gonna learn how to dance too. I'm gonna learn to dance. Yeah, I'll see you. Okay, yeah. And I look down at my feet, and then I just turn around, and I move up to the bus. As the quip, "Please help me, Daddy," leaves me.
Now, in narration, I will describe what happens around each of you, and then I would like epilogues from each of you to describe what you do next, and feel free to be as dramatic, as tragic, or as heroic as you choose. If you decide you want to all meet again shortly after, you can have that happen too. I will leave it in your hands. But here's what happens from mine. As Dr. White stands in the sewers, staring up, mouth slightly open at the immensity of this creature, its gigantic size, you're pretty sure you're looking at its head. It starts collapsing. It starts collapsing in the middle. Then, like ice exposed to great heat in the center and just melting down into rivulets that run into the sewer, it starts pouring down around you. This great alien colossus is collapsing, dissolving, melting into nothingness around you. Something has clearly struck at its heart, and it is dying. You are losing all this raw material right this instant and being coated in it. If there was any hope that you had survived contamination, well, all you can do now is hope that the dead cells of this creature cannot spread anything, because you are completely smothered in it briefly until your head emerges, your shoulders, your arms, your chest. And likewise, in the tunnel where Agent Faulkner has blown holes into this creature, its tendrils are about to lash at you again, wrapping around you, and this time they won't miss, but they suddenly freeze, paralyzed, as if electrified, and then splash onto the floor as if they never held structure in the first place. The body comes roiling down towards you like a melted mass. You can see at your end the vaguely formed humanoid figures of its copies, its simulacra. You can see some of the sheriff's deputies tragically, they had been fed into this creature, passed through its body, and were about to emerge at the end that you were at, and now they're just fleshy stumps that land on the ground, bereft of life. And where BC is, when the fire dies down, that small drain where the creature's festering heart once lived is now empty but for ash. You think it's been destroyed. You hope it's been destroyed. There's no trace of it left in there.
For a moment, I simply stand there, covered in this alien substance, listening to the sound of silence now. I'm unsure what to do next. Am I even going to be alive soon? I look down at myself. My skin, my face, they don't seem to be transitioning anymore. I seem to look almost normal, other than, of course, for the goo and the water and the burns. But I know that this is only an illusion. I can feel inside something that seems to be waiting or hiding, but I don't understand how this could occur. I do not have control over such things. The buzzing is louder in my ear, the loudest it's ever been. I can feel blood coming down from my nose. I hear those words, the words the agent was speaking, the words I knew from my dreams. I almost feel as if that's what's keeping it inert. Like some sort of cloak or blanket swaddling me in this ray of cosmic something. I don't have words for it. I stumble forwards. It's strange, because for a moment I feel I see BC somewhere. He will live. The agent somewhere as well. But I do not have time for them. From the slime, something emerges. Some sort of break in reality. I can't really comprehend it because my mind can no longer comprehend anything. All I know is I am to step through. And I do. And in the void, and in the dark, which I am not sure is even real. Maybe I am just dead. But something takes me. I had a purpose all along. I was supposed to collect the Oobleck in some way. Whatever for, maybe I shall never know. For now everything is lost in the buzz and the void and the chanting, not from human mouths, but from something else.
Not many claim to have seen Benny Clyde Rosberg after that day, and those who did were rarely trusted. His mother, Tess, as upon questioning denied ever seeing him again, even during the few days when her husband, Magnus Rosberg, woke up shortly before passing away. The fact that no funeral was held for BC, however, caused some speculation in the town whether his parents were telling the truth or not. Still, where the trail runs cold among our people, legends could be heard in another part of our world. The lizard men The humanoid species, which the FBI came to classify as iguanoids, have many tales about how an imposing human, wielding one of their traditional artifacts as if he were one of them, came to their tribes. Together with a woman a few years junior his age, as well as a giant iguanoid with which he seemed to have become friends, he preached to them of a great unification as a preparation for a greater war between them and their rivaling species. Benny Clyde Rosberg wanted to prove himself. To Denton, to Alabama, and to the world. He wanted to be the talk of the town, a person whose actions mattered to people, who affected them and resonated down to their hearts. He wanted to be a source of influence. He wanted this so badly, and was indeed so successful, if not among the world's people, but rather among the species alien to the public, that one could only ask who was spinning the threads of this long-term plan and made it come into fruition. Was it indeed Benny Clyde, or something far more sinister?
Agent Faulkner's family was all right. Having come to Denton as Okies, they'd always been treated as outsiders. Not normally something to be happy about, but in this case it might just have saved their lives. Aside from matter-of-factly retelling the events in the town, Agent Faulkner kept his mouth shut. The Bureau was more concerned with other potential leaks of information, and Faulkner was allowed to return to his post in D.C. He left the Bureau a few months later. He had proven himself to Denton, to the country, and to his family. He'd saved them all. There was nothing more to prove. But one failure remained. With the rains and grass having returned to Oklahoma, he and his folks gathered up the money they had and bought back the ranch that they had left all those years ago. The world always needs wheat, and the golden fields of the Faulkner family will provide it. Farewell, Denton. Farewell.
The end.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played the campaign Terror at Makeout Point, for They Came From Beneath the Sea. Our game master was the gentleman gamer, Matthew Dawkins, who also created the game. They Came From Beneath the Sea is published by Onyx Path Publishing, and we would like to extend a big thank you to them and to Matthew for doing this actual play project with us. The music for this episode is taken from the Cryo Chamber collaborations Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, Azathoth, Shub-Niggurath, and Nyarlathotep, and is used with permission from Cryo Chamber. Please check out cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more of their lovely dark ambient. Finally, a big thank you to all of our Patreon backers. Creating all of this content would not be possible without your generous support on Patreon. You give us loads of energy, you help us cover our costs, and you open up time for us to record and edit. So, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you ever so much. See you again soon.